then again,
too few to mention.
Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is about regrets. We are the Three-Headed Hydra podcast. Josh, James, I'm Sal. You've been singing so beautifully. We're talking about regrets, of course, in this episode. And I was just thinking the other day, I was looking at some of the jobs I did in the past, some digital works, especially some of my original voiceover work for some customers. And while I was listening, I was quite embarrassed about how some of those results turned out. I mean, it had to do also with the way that the customers wanted things to be recorded. So in the end, I actually did what the customers wanted. But I was just thinking, I wish sometimes I would not have done this or that, and I could just erase certain parts in the past, while at the same time, if I would do that, I would not be the person I am today. So regrets. What do you guys think? James, let's start with you.
All right. Generally speaking, I think regrets are almost always a waste of time, unless you're going to learn something because you're going to repeat the same situation again, in which case you can learn from the previous situation and apply what you've learned to the next situation. I think people, because I know that we've got short time, so I'm going to go straight in. I think people that spend too much time on regrets, because it's easier to talk about the past and how you wish things would have been, instead of thinking about what you're doing now and what you're going to do in the next hour or the next day. So especially when I go home to the UK, I hear people talking about regrets all the time. Oh, I wish I would have done this. Oh, I wish I had done this. Oh, if I hadn't done this, then maybe I would have. And I say, unless you have the same situation again, you are wasting your time. What are you going to do today to get towards where you want to go?
Josh, what do you say?
Can you remember this Dalio quote? Because I remember you said you were familiar with Dalio, Sal.
Ray Dalio.
Is it pain? Yeah. Pain plus reflection equals progress. Is that what he says? It's along those lines anyway.
Let me check that right away.
It's along those lines.
I'm
known for getting a wise quote wrong.
Pain plus reflection equals progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm pretty good. I mean, people don't do that out of choice, do they? What you were just talking about, James. They not out of choice, but they're not aware they're doing it. They're not aware it's unhelpful. And I think I'm on the right side of that in my mentality. I don't spend too long regretting. I quickly realise, I'll go through the process, and I quickly realise that I did what I did for a reason. And like you say, faced with this, that's why it's helpful. That's reflection, But it's kind of a waste of time. Yeah, I agree with James there. It is a waste of time, but that's a hard thing to. It's a harsh thing to get your head around, isn't it?
I sound a little bit robotic when I say something like that. I think, well, does that mean that you spend no time on past regrets? And no, they crop up in my mind all day. But the point is that I'm mindful enough to see them crop up in my mind and say, okay, is this a situation I'm going to see again? And if it's not, then politely move on.
Yeah, I guess maybe you can categorize different kinds of regrets if you want to be more analytical about it, in the sense that there might be regrets that you did something in 20 years ago. You took a right turn instead of a left turn, and you think, hey, what would it have been like if I would have taken another choice? But that kind of thought is kind of pointless because you cannot change your past, right?
Right.
But then there might be other situations where you think, okay, in that situation I reacted in that way, and when you relive that moment and something still bothers you, maybe that could be an indicator that you still haven't processed it properly.
Yeah.
And so that's a different kind of regret, in the sense that it's still an opportunity for you to elaborate, analyze, and actually get over it in a certain way. So rather than that kind of regret where you wish you would have done certain things differently for choices you made and that have brought you into different points in life, okay, that's one thing. But maybe there's another category of situations, as you said, that you might encounter again. And thinking upon such a moment in the past is still painful, or still kind of makes you think like, wow, what an idiot I was back then. And why did I react that certain way? And it still makes you feel you still get this gut reaction when you think about a certain situation. I'm sure you also have that sometimes when you think of something that you did and you relive it. That you get like a physical reaction to that. I certainly have 2 or 3 of those.
But, no, if you start again, but that's onto another point where you need to start learning how to listen to your physiology, right? If you have a thought and then you listen to what your body is saying to you, then you can learn a lot. And even, it sounds pissy sometimes, but even dreams, if you have a recurring dream where a person keeps coming up again and again, that's a sign to you from your subconscious. And this is a Jungian theory, a Jungian perspective. If that person keeps coming up again and again, then you have an unresolved situation in your subconscious. So we're talking about, so I just said myself, regrets can be a waste of time, but they can also be a chance to make amends, right? Say, okay, maybe I need to talk to this person that I keep thinking about and say, look, this is what happened. This is the situation I was in, and I apologize. So it's not just a waste of time in terms of, oh, well, I'm not going to see this person again, so it's a waste of time. Also, for your own mental health, sometimes you need to go back to that person and say, this is what happened. And then, the ghost sort of disappears in front of you.
So wait a second. I'm very interested in that topic because so when a person comes back to you in your dreams, what exactly do you mean by that? Like you dream about somebody approaching you, or because I have this very weird thing.
In different situations, right? So you have a situation in which you feel that you did not resolve it to your satisfaction, and then 3 nights out of 7, you wake up and you remember, why is this person here? Why is this person here? Why is this person here? Again and again, different situations. And then you think, okay, well, this is a situation that I have not resolved psychologically.
So what is it then? Because what I used to have a lot, especially in my times when I did not fast during the day. When I fast, for example, I have more energy. When I did not do that, I needed to sleep, for example, in the afternoon, like 20 minutes to do a power nap or something. And when I used to do the power nap, I'm not sure if you ever heard of that or if you ever experienced that yourself. It's very strange.
Yeah.
I was falling asleep, but not completely. So I was kind of aware that I was sleeping, but I was not fully sleeping. It's a bit strange, huh? So I knew I was sleeping.
No, I'm smiling because
maybe you had the same thing. So I'm paralyzed.
Yeah.
And so all the sounds around me I'm aware that there are sounds around me, but my mind kind of transforms them into something else, okay? And so I have this used to have this recurring dream, let's say, or daydream, that somebody would walk into the room, stand over me, and bend over me. I'm not joking. And actually, that's a very...
You need to check your English, man.
Paranormal activities. No, I think it's called night terror or something. There's a phenomenon. A lot of people have that actually. Yeah, it's true. So is that cool? Josh, you're smiling. Like, did you ever have something like that?
No. I was smiling because Jay, about the man bending over you.
Yeah.
That's about I was still smiling about. But
I wonder what that means.
The bit I was smiling about earlier was your kind of like mid-dream, like you say, where you're kind of in between sleep, because these are the ones you remember, and I don't know whether you have a bit more control over them or something like that, because they seem to be a bit more true to your life, whereas if you remember a dream in the night, these can be all over the place and wacky, But if you kind of just wait, I've sometimes find if you wake up and then you go back to sleep, you have this little dream that you can really keep track of and remember because you're not quite fully asleep.
Then
you see what I mean?
You're the best napper I know.
I'm also the best non-faster, I don't mind a sugary snack.
That's an introduction to a question. Do you ever find that you can sort of get into that semi-sleep state and control what's happening in the semi-dream?
Control more, but not control. But
like lucid dreams.
Like I say, it seems to be a lot that these kind of semi-dreams, if we call them that, tend to be a lot more related to what's happened to you that day, or they're a lot more surface. Whereas these kind of dreams you have at night, they say you dream 20 or many times a night, but you don't remember it. But if you ever do remember a dream that you have in the night, these dreams are, like I say, they're just kind of all over the place, and you can't really track them. And like you say, James, about the Jungian theory is that this is your subconscious trying to tell you something, and whether it's helpful or not, these are all things that go in your subconscious, which would make sense, right? But definitely the kind of semi-dreams, they just tend to be a lot more about, if you've seen someone, the day before, they might crop up in this kind of semi-dream.
Yeah,
I think what you're talking about is lucid dreams, like the ability to control. Is it lucid dreams? Is that
that's right. Yeah, where you're conscious of what's happening.
Right. I mean, in the night terror version that I had, basically, I was aware that I was sleeping or half sleeping. So one thing I could do is wake myself up.
No.
It would take a lot of physical strength, because it's basically you feel paralyzed, and so you kind of try to shake yourself awake from the inside. It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
But then I would eventually wake up. I would feel a bit exhausted because it takes a lot of energy. But it must be scary to watch from the outside, probably, when I do that, when I'm half sleeping and trying to move around.
I can remember times I've had a kind of dream, and I should imagine it's common, which is similar to what you mean. And someone is maybe fighting you, and you can't, and you go to fight back, but nothing is moving. Like you can't, or you kind of you do fight, and there's just no impact behind what you're doing. And this must be some. I bet if you Googled that, people would have theories, because I think that's quite a common dream.
But I guess it's unrelated to what you said before, James. The dream that you.
All dreams are related to regret in a certain kind of way, because.
Really?
Well, I think so, because the subconscious is programmed on our own personal experiences, no?
I always thought that dream basically is like all your thoughts, because when we are conscious, we kind of filter all the time, and when you sleep, all these filters just go away. That's why a lot of dreams are so wacky.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it does. Isn't it that your prefrontal cortex shuts down, and so the filter of reasoning and filtering out what's possible and impossible just goes away, and so everything that you actually want to think just comes out into the mind, as it were.
That's interesting.
But I think I don't want to get too far away from the topic that we started with, which is regret. So I think a lot of things do manifest in dreams, and that's fascinating, because oftentimes you can go to the physical person when you are awake again and work it out for yourself. It's not easy, but it's possible. But then I do think always that people spend a lot of time in their conscious awake hours thinking, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? The previous day, month, year, decade. And it wastes a lot of time and energy, and it takes away all of the energy it takes away all of the energy from what they could be doing now. That's my main concern.
Yeah, I guess if it drags you down, and I suppose it always drags you down in the end if you linger on regret, you're kind of feeding yourself this negative loop. It's a negative, feedback loop that you're feeding to yourself. And so you're dragging yourself down, rather than, it's like what they said, for example, during the COVID-19 lockdown now. Time is restrained, and now it's more important than ever what you feed your brain. So some people just, watch Netflix all day long, or watch Fox News, go from Fox News to MSNBC, and get all the extremes into their heads in terms of news, and just fed themselves with that. Probably though, it would have been a much better exercise if you would just do positive things that have been proven to be positive, like write down maybe 10 things that you're grateful in the morning when you wake up, 10 things you're grateful for, and write them down and start your day like that. And then maybe nurture your brain with actually informative, lessons, learn a new language, like kind of, So I guess when you linger on all these regrets, you kind of exhaust yourself repeating that, but also you make yourself feel worthless, because you also don't find a way to actually change the situation that led to that regret. So actually you don't allow for yourself to progress in a way, right? You're building up barriers.
Could we maybe say that a little bit of regret is helpful, but as long as you're going to do something about what you're regretting? Is that a good way to summarize?
Cut the tape.
Time to summarize.
Okay, that's it. I'm out. Bye.
Beautiful.
Fantastic. No, it's true.
That's it. That's it. That's the nail
Did
on
you
the
have
head.
to let it linger?
No,
Can we
because
close with that one?
Because
You
let's
got me
imagine
wrapped
the other
around
extreme.
you.
The other extreme is where you have no regrets at all, right? So you're basically some sort of sociopath where you don't give a crap about what you've ever done before, or
Right.
who you've ever spoken to badly, who you've ever hurt, the opportunities that you've missed, anything. That's the other extreme, and that would be a poisonous person. So yeah, of course, I think then you summed it up beautifully. Have regrets, but then do something in the present to get something out of them.
We always say, James, about Russell Brand, what are you going to do about it? What are we going to do about this? That's a question he likes to ask, doesn't he? They talk a point and he says, well, what are we going to do about it? Which is a good question to ask.
Russell Brand, why doesn't he want to start a revolution or something?
But that's a different topic.
Is that the same guy?
Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Maybe we should put Brand on our subjects because he's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely, absolutely. Yeah, but just to get back quickly on to regrets, because then there's other people, you just brought that to my mind, that regret every single word they say to people. Like they regret instantly when they say something, they should have said it differently, and are very insecure. And I think that's then the other extreme, regretting everything you do and being very unsure of, like basically it kind of freezes you from acting in the world. Because then it makes you so afraid of acting, of regretting something, that you stop acting onto the world in a way. And that's the other thing.
Which is important to bring up, isn't it? Because if someone listens to this and they think, oh, I shouldn't be regretting, this is a kind of loop you can get in your head. And I know, like that's why I say I'm on the right side of that
right
now, because I realise, just as anyone has, I don't think I've like suffered from this in particular, but yeah, there's definitely been times where you kind of want to over-assess every little move, and like you say, at the end of the day, you've got to kind of move about the world and do something, haven't you? You never get anything done if you kind of analyse and regret every move, and it paralyses you. So yeah, that is important to say, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, yeah, it's really the balance. As with many things, to find the right balance between I guess probably it's healthy to just move forward in 95% of the cases, and then every now and then take a pit stop at the side of the road, and analyze what you're doing, if you're heading the right way, if you're still on the right track. And that includes looking at your regrets and analyzing the last recent experiences you made, and then keep on moving for a while, and then stop again and look back and analyze.
Yeah, that's good practical advice, Sal.
95.5. Trust the German to put it into percentages. Thank you, Sal.
You're very welcome. By the way. All right. I think we got a good episode. And
how long was that, Sal?
18 minutes and a half.
Perfect.
Okay.
What we're going for.
All right. For everybody still watching, thank you very much for watching this episode of the Three-Headed Hydra podcast. Josh, James, Sal. Follow us. Peace out. Bye-bye.